Hello everybody, this is Jasmine here, back with another video about Beyond All Reason. Today we're going to be looking at economy and the early game on both best practices on how to use your economy in the early game and kind of a basic build order that will help you get going quickly and efficiently at the very start of your game. Now, the reason why having a good build order that is as efficient as possible is because all of the stuff you do in the very beginning of the game will end up having compounding interest later on. For instance, we'll just give you an example here as we launch the game. Um, what I usually do at the very beginning, especially if I have good wind, is I will be building one mechs instantly and then going straight on to my next mechs and a windmill. Now, some people might go 3 mexes in a row. I do not recommend this because mexes take energy. As you can see, it is -3 energy, and you only have a certain window of energy. Um, so having that energy production before building your third mechs will help you efficiently crank out what you need as far as energy consumption. Now, the reason why this is important is because if you build three mechs straight in a row, your energy will be all the way at 0. And this will cause your mexes to flash a energy symbol, basically saying they're out of energy. And when your mexes run out of energy, that causes you to lose your metal production here of 2.2 per mex. So you would essentially have 0 mexes running during that time if you build all 3 mexes right off the bat. Okay, so after I get one windmill and my 3 mexes up, then I will go into building usually 2 to 3 more windmills. Now, I have my income boosted in the game, so this is not going to be an accurate showing of how much energy you will have. But if you build around 4 windmills, you should be close to 70 energy coming in. And um, if you aren't there, you could always try to build a couple more, or maybe if wind is not doing very well, you can build a basic solar panel, a T1 solar panel. Try to avoid doing this if you at all can. I would only do that if your energy is, or if your wind power is below, say, 5. Then I would substitute some of these windmills for a T1 solar panel. But the T1 solar panels are generally known for being the absolute worst energy usage in the game. So just keep that in mind. It's a very bad metal to energy ratio. Anyway, after you get to 70 energy income, this is a general rule of thumb. Certain people might, like it at 80 or like it at 60. It just kind of varies. But after you get to that point, you're going to want to choose what you're going to be building into. You can either build into bots, or you can build into vehicles, or you could even build into planes, but that's kind of a little bit less common. So if you are wanting to go into planes, you've probably heard this advice before, that you're going to want to check with your team to make sure that you are able to do that, because planes are a little bit more tricky to get the hang of, and usually it's better to have someone with a little bit more experience to build them. Now, for me, I almost always go into vehicles. For those of you who have watched my streams, you know that. And some of you love it and some of you hate it. Anyway, immediately after your next factory is built, whatever one that is that you choose, you're going to queue up another windmill production, assuming that your wind speed is good. If you have good wind speed, throw at the moment this factory is placed, you put down another windmill instantly. Okay, and then while while that is queued up, you will also want to queue up a couple construction vehicles. That's what I recommend for new players is going for a couple construction vehicles because they will get your build power out. You will likely want to use them to gather some metal, maybe suck up a couple resources that are on the field in close areas, and just you want to expand your metal extraction um, zone as big as possible. Some people will try to make a heavy push for the front line and try to gather some of the up resources further up. But for newer players, just secure what you have safely and then move on from there. So usually I'll build 2 to 3 construction vehicles depending on whether I am an economy or a frontline individual. Frontline, you're only going to want to build 2 at the beginning, and your second one is going to be going straight into all windmills. Here's the caveat, if your wind is good. And he can just build windmills almost all game because you're going to need that energy and it's going to be used up. Now, this is something important that I think not a lot of people talk about and probably should be discussed more often, and that is the value of having energy converters. So what an energy converter is it takes the excess energy that you may have, that you may be wasting, and it just turns it straight into metal. So you'll see here, it takes 70 energy to run, and it produces 1 metal per second. Now, you think, well, 1 metal is not very much, and that is true. 1 metal is not very much, but every second it'll produce 1 extra metal, which is a nice bonus, okay? Now, how I like to use my energy converters is more of an energy buffer. So I try to think of all my materials as a potential, as trying to find my absolute highest potential possible with all of my resources. So if I start running out of space for metal, I'm gonna instantly put down um, one storage unit for my metal, because metal is one of the most valuable things in the game, right? So I want to maintain a constant flow of metal so I don't uh, run out of the ability to store that important value. Because, I mean, when you start getting into T2, T3, metal is just evaporated from your coffers. So make sure you always try to store as much metal as possible and use it. If you have the ability to use it, just produce units, produce anything to be able to use that metal. Now, obviously, this is a tutorial, so I'm not going to be crying about it, but this is just an example for you in your gameplay. Now, most people will do that for something like metal, but with energy, they let it go to waste, and I hate that. So what I do is I will build a bunch of energy converters, and usually in a normal scenario, you'll only want to build like 2 or 3 at the beginning of the game, just based on whether or not you're wasting energy. So what I'll do is I'll build energy converters until I stop wasting my energy. Because, I mean, wastefulness is, I mean, obviously not good. No one wants to waste things, right? And sure, it can help your teammates if you have teammates, but going every 70 energy, every 70 energy you end up wasting is 1 metal gone from your coffers. So just keep that in mind. I find a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on the value of energy converters. They do add up over time. So if, for instance, I had all all 7 of these energy converters, and they're all producing energy metal all the time. That's 7 metal coming in. One of these metal extractors produces 2. Well, it's a little bit higher because I have boosted metal, but it's very comparable to a metal extractor. I mean, that much extra metal coming in can really help you overcome any issues you may have in the early game with just having that advantage on your enemy. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Energy converters are not something to sniff at, and obviously the tier 2 will be better and more efficient, but don't throw away tier 1 is good for nothing. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is this nasty T1 solar panel. Um, I think if you've done any research into Beyond All Reason, you've probably heard people talk about this. So basically, let's look at the energy production of this guy. It produces 20 energy here, but then how much does it cost? 155 metal. Okay, look at a wind turbine. A wind turbine only costs 37 metal, and this guy's producing more energy because of the insanity of the wind right now. But he's producing even more energy than this T1 solar panel. So you're going to eventually get to the point where T1 solar panels need to be destroyed, okay? So what you're going to want to do when you get to that point where you have plenty of energy coming in, and if you needed to use that to help you get through the early game, you're going to want to suck that up, because this is going to take all of this metal and fold this metal back into your resource production, back into your army, and it's just not an efficient way of using that metal. So definitely be aware of that. It's very important to suck up those T1 solar panels as much as possible. So we're going to also talk about T2 solar panels. Now these guys are much better than the average T1 solar panel. Whoops, sorry about that. These guys produce 75 energy. So it's a massive difference, and it costs just I think it's just barely more than twice as much, and it produces like 3 times the energy. So these are much more efficient. They're even generally better than the solar panel, but I can't say, or generally better than the wind turbine. I can't say they are perfectly better, but they are generally better. Now, the reason why I don't often build these is just due to the fact, excuse me, it's just due to the fact that they do cost 300 metal. And so when you're popping these things down left and right, it's a big amount of commitment in metal just to get these out. They do give the positive fact of energy consistency, whereas your wind might even drop down to maybe 1. It could be your wind drops down to 1 or even up as high as 16. And if if it drops down to 1, you're in big trouble, right? But with your solar panels, you'll never have a fluctuation of energy coming in, which can be very nice to be consistent on the battle. I've had games where I'm at 1 wind power for almost it feels like 10 minutes of the game. So it's very dangerous to rely totally on wind. Sometimes it could be good to go for both. Sometimes it's good to go for just wind. You just kind of have to get a feel for what you like doing. Now we're not going to be going into all the advanced things of the economy yet. This is just a basic tutorial on the early game wind and kind of a basic build order for you guys. And just giving some ideas out there for you to try on the battlefield for your own. Obviously, if you guys have any different things that you would prefer to do, you can definitely leave that down in the comments, both for myself to look at and for other people who are trying to learn beyond all reason for them to look at as well. I definitely appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to watch, and if you have gotten value out of these videos, or even if you want to be up to date on the latest tutorial videos I'm going to be putting out on Beyond All Reason, definitely make sure to subscribe, and you can also even follow me on my Twitch, which is in the description below. Anyway, I appreciate you guys taking your time, and I'll see you on the next one.